Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter.
You've said, Anurag, that the new film Choked, you've described it as your warmest film, the warmest film you've ever made. Now, given that it's about a marriage that's going through its troubles, given that it's about greed, given that it's about what keeping secrets from one's family, given that it's about the true nature of people being revealed when wealth comes in their way, can we safely say that even the warmest Anurag Kashyap film will never be light-hearted and frothy and breezy? Can we safely say that?
I think it's like, that movie, Jack Nicholson movie, As Good As It Gets.
That's right.
Where he plays his most cynical self and as good as it gets. So if that was a warm film, then I think Choked is a very warm film. But yeah, I'm saying to come to the warmth, it needs to pass through everything.
Right. Yeah. Roshan Saiyami, you of course play the couple at the center of this. You're a couple that started out being in love, and then of course life takes over, and there's obviously tensions in the marriage. What appealed to you about these characters or this story? What was it that you found interesting about them?
For me, Sushant is an extremely flawed man who is going through his worst phase in life, which is bringing out the worst in him. And the insecurities and the flaws in him were actually the most exciting part about it for me. And I've been lucky in 2-3 of the films that I've done. I've been offered characters with flaws, characters who operate largely in the very gray area. And it's very exciting for me to find these characters, empathize with them, fall in love with them, and then try and figure out how to play them. But having said that, whatever the character was, I would have done this film.
Right. Well, flawed characters is very much Mr. Kashyap's wheelhouse. So I would imagine you're very much home there. Sammy, for you?
So for me, actually, the first time I read the script, I read it, I take a lot of time to read scripts, but this script, it flew through it. And I always read a script as an audience. So the first time I read it, I found it so endearing that it is a Maharashtrian setting and it is a South Indian boy. It is a story about Maharashtra and a South Indian setting. Because I feel, Hindi films, predominantly, we have been so used to seeing the Punjabi sides of all Hindi films. So and if you see Maharashtrians, then it's Anurag Kashyap talking about gangsters in Bombay. So I feel this is just a really sweet film where there was a couple, where it was a really simple setting and it was about this couple. So that's what really attracted me to it as a script. And then my character, Sarita, I think for any actress, a role which is so meaty, where, she is, the film is on her shoulder. It is about the girl, the woman getting money. It is about this everyday woman in India who, is working, slogging herself at work, coming back to her husband, ordering her around to clean the house, her son who's throwing stuff around. So it is a story of every Indian woman, if you go to see. And I somewhere feel that, just like Roshan said, if it was an Anurag Kashyap film, I would have, without reading a script, said I want to work with you. But this script was why I said I want to work with you, and then it was Anurag Kashyap.
Anurag, you've described the film also as a kind of Sai Paranjpe thriller, which is such an interesting way to put it, because it is sort of a lower middle class housing society where the action, in a sense, takes place, and how demonetization changes the dynamics of the marriage also, and also of people that you think are your friends and your neighbors. What was you've also said that this was an idea that's been with you. It came to you about 6-7 years ago, and it was when demonetization happened that you figured out the way to crack it. Why was this an idea that was gnawing away at you for all these years?
No, I fell in love instantly. Like, when we were at Phantom, and Phantom acquired the script at FICCI, and Nihit Bhave, he was a film critic at that time with Times of India. And, there was a discussion going on, and Shubhra told me this whole thing of there's a script that has come in about a woman who finds money through the kitchen sink, and it's about a marriage. I just fell in love with that much without reading the
Right.
script. Literally went and to Vikram Motwani and said, "This film is mine. I'll do it." After that, I read the script and I found the idea so compelling and everything, and I was kind of felt that it was not coming together very well in the end. And that I would have done the film if I had not done no smoking in the past and seen the consequences of it. So for me, I needed for it to buy into it and come together very with the end. And Nihit said, "Let me attempt it." And Nihit kept writing and rewriting it. And then demonetization happened. I was caught up in so much. I was doing Sacred Games 1, 2, Mukkabaz, Manmarziyan, Ghost Stories, Love Stories. So much was going on. So I was busy, and Nihit said that I'll let me take a go at it. And demonetization happened. I said, suddenly what? Your film makes sense. The whole film makes
Right.
sense. And we just need to bring demonetization into it. The film is not about demonetization. It stays essentially about the
Correct.
couple. Once you bring that in, let's bring the dynamics of in. And Nihit kept writing, rewriting. I think 2-3 more drafts later, we had the script. And then the journey was to find actors. I met Saiyami in 2017. Roshan I found at the edit room of Muthon in 2018. So how pieces kind of started to come together. And then I've grown up in a middle class, so I can understand the way middle class is. But Maharashtrian middle class is very different from a North Indian middle class. There's a lot of trust, and you go to a chawl, everybody walks into each other's houses. You go to a smaller
Correct.
building, the people have. It's a very Maharashtrians are very trusting people. They are very, very trusting
Right.
people, and they are very friendly people. They're not aggressive like North Indians, or boastful like Punjabis. They're very
Right.
different. So, and my whole team was picked up like that. Like from the my
Right.
Sylvester Fonseca, the cinematographer, has grown up like that. Rahul Badwelkar, who grew up in Bhopal but is a Maharashtrian. The Garima Obra, who was writing the songs, Rachita, all these people brought in something which was middle class of them with them into the
Right.
film.
And it is such an authentic portrait of of middle class life. One of the scenes that I really enjoyed was the scene where your two characters, Roshan and Saimi, Sushant and Sarita, of course, are having this argument in the night, in their in bed just before they're about to go to sleep, and they're arguing, and their son is sleeping between them, and he gets sort of dragged into that argument. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful because it really is so representative of a middle class, of a lower middle class kind of home where the kids sleep with the family. What I want to ask you is, the two of you, what was that scene like to shoot, and what was the whole film like to shoot? Because I read interviews in which both of you have said that Anurag's process was very unlike anything that the two of you had done before.
Yes. So that scene in particular actually was the only scene we rehearsed. Is Anurag Kashyap's style of working is he doesn't believe in rehearsals at all. He doesn't believe in giving actors the script, and he doesn't like us reading the script once we have it in hand. So that was one day when we both got really insecure and said, "Listen, we are not experienced. We want to do some rehearsal." He's like, "Chalo, ye scene karte hain." So we started reading the scene, and his
And we were
DA
at that
Shivang,
time we were all staying together, so they were both staying in my
yeah.
house. And
Ah,
My assistant Shivang was also staying here, so he was made to play the child in between them. Continue.
So we were all living together throughout the 25 days of shoot, and Shivang was playing the little kid, and we got into. So we said, "Can we hold, like, we don't know our lines, and can we hold the script?" He's like, "Nahi, nahi, aap baat karo na." So it was just like us improvising, knowing what we were getting into, and it was Shivang's reactions to us, which we kind of used in the final scene, which we did in the film with the little kid. But the whole experience working with AK was just so liberating, because he puts you in, throws you into the deep ocean, and you're nervous, you're afraid, and you don't know what's going to come out of it. But after like 4 5 days of working with him, you realize that, okay, this man knows how to get performances out of actors, and he's a genius. He's done that with all his films so far. So once I surrendered to him completely is when I realized that I know that this is going to be all right.
I actually have that footage of the rehearsal on my phone still.
because that seems like a
Yeah, I
tennis
think
match. It's sort of, the exchange is wonderful. Yeah, Roshan.
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, we
The-
didn't. The lines had gotten over a long time ago, and Anurag Kashyap doesn't call cut. So we had to just go on and on. So even if the scene was over in like 40 seconds, it goes on for 7 minutes because he doesn't call cut.
Wow.
I think when we rehearsed the scene at AK's house was the first time also that I got some sort of a taste of Sushant's character, and more importantly, the equation that he has with Sarita and his equation and their equation with the son, which was really strange because, like he said, Shivang was playing the son and he's maybe like the same age as both of us. But it really was the first taste that I got of, oh, okay, so this is this kind of a relationship. And I've never been married, so I'm coming in with no idea of how a marriage really functions, apart from having seen it at home. And then what, as actors, what we all do is we go back to the closest to that experience that we've had. So I take a relationship in which I wasn't happy in spite of having been in love with the person. Then I extend it out for maybe 10 more years and try to imagine what that would feel like. So for all of these things, I think I got the first taste when we rehearsed that scene. Shooting it again was a lot of fun. Saiyami is great to play tennis with when we are improving scenes and we've run out of script and you're still going back and forth. It was great energy. I think even the whole movie, the experience of, I think, shooting this relationship and the changes and the hierarchy shifts in the relationship, I think for me was a very exciting thing now looking back at it, because there you're going one scene at a time and it's all very momentary. It's happening organically. You're just going with your instinct. But now when you look back at it, it feels like these two have been through so much, and that's a nice feeling.
Anurag, this is not what one has come to typically expect from Anurag Kashyap, and that is, I would imagine, exciting for you. The fact that you're able to, and it's an opportunity to to try different things. Are you curious? Are you anxious to see how it plays with those that have now come to expect a certain kind of Anurag Kashyap film and who might be surprised?
I've been dealing with that a lot, especially.
Yeah.
I've dealt with it thrice. After, when people love a certain film of yours, I remember when Black Friday got all the love, it was a very short-lived expectation that changed with Dev D. After Dev D, they were expecting me to do another film like that. That was again short-lived till Wasipur. But after Wasipur, it's been a nightmare for me. So every film you do, people said, oh, I want that Wasipur wala thing. Sacred Games, I thought, gave that to them so they would stop, but they don't stop. But I think somewhere in my own personal journey, I have, ever since with Mukkabaz, the idea came from somewhere outside. Manmarziyan, when Kanika came with the script. So when I'm working on an idea that has come from somewhere else, then I have more objectivity on it. And I can literally look at it, okay, this is a great idea and a great script, and let me see how I can make it work. When it is originating from me, then I have to be like, okay, how do I reach the finishing line? That becomes that's a different struggle. Here's I'm more objective, so I can see things, and then to do right by the writer, and see him as a collaborator, and everybody else as a collaborator. So that for me is a new exercise which I'm enjoying, because I think suddenly I am discovering a whole lot of other aspects of people and character, and I was constantly obsessed with one side of things, which for me is changing personally, and it is coming because of all the other people coming in. So which is why now I have become increasingly more defiant of not doing prep, because my costume designer, my cameraman, my first AD, my production designer, they are all their own bosses. I will not tell them what to do. I will just tell them this doesn't work. So what happens is everybody feels like they are bringing in something with them. And in that process is my constant learning process. So while I am going, I'm just like Saiyami and Roshan, going into a scene not knowing where we are going to go, and discover the scene along the way. So every decision was taken like that. And in the process, we are developing the relationship. Similarly, my process with the editor is also the same. So I'm actually enjoying this phase a lot, because this phase is, I'm at my most secure as a filmmaker. And I'm also, I'm ready to take on challenges. I'm really don't care about people's opinion or expectations. I'm enjoying my own process. So once my film is done, I'm all ready to move on to my next film. And which is why last 2-3 years I've been working non-stop. I finished Choked and I moved on to Ghost Stories, and I finished Ghost Stories and moved on to my next film. So which is also almost done. So, for me, I'm not stopping anymore. But this process
He
is
moved on
something
so
that I'm enjoying
quickly.
so much and learning.
Sorry,
Yeah,
he
what?
moved on
Yes,
so
I mean,
quickly. Is when we were living in the house, we had just finished filming. We hadn't even moved out of the house, and he's all like, "Hey, this is my ex. Meet my next." To the actors of his next film. So Roshan and I, we finished shooting. How can you detach from us in like 20 hours? So that's how quickly he moved.
I envy it, but it's a terrible, terrible situation to be in a day after your film's wrapped up.
the big idea at the center of the film, that this is a woman who discovers bundles of money in the drain. I think that much we can say because it's in the trailer, in her
Yeah.
kitchen drain, and it's an unending money that she chances upon. I mean, it's a great scenario, and it's one of those scenarios that you inevitably will sort of fantasize about, right? I mean, I wish this would happen to
Yeah.
me. And what you do, Anurag, with that scenario is that you kind of sort of ask the ethical and moral questions. You kind of ask
Yeah.
us, and I want to ask all of you: did you ever ask yourself that question, or have that fantasy in a sense?
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. Did each?
I Hello.
I don't know where that came from.
Uh,
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Did
no,
each of you have that fantasy?
I have had fantasies like when I was struggling. I used to have random fantasies of being picked up and discovered. Of like, you have fantasies like you're walking on the street and there's some very rich person is walking and you save his life somehow, and he turns your life around and gives you money to make a movie. I've had one of my fantasies. I actually turned into a movie in Bombay talkies, which was Murabba.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
because I would sit outside Mr. Bachchan's house hoping to catch a glimpse of him or him seeing me. So we live fantasies in our heads. We are struggling and we want
Right.
to make something of it. And
Mhm.
after a while, then you get caught up in work. But yeah, I have had fantasies like this, fantasizing about somehow finding money or somehow finding things. I've actually found a 100 rupee note on Juhu Beach once.
Wow. Not as much as Sarita, unfortunately. To the two of you, have you had that fantasy, and did you find yourself asking that question? What would you do? What would I do?
I think more than the fantasy of finding money. Sorry, that noise is coming from next door, so maybe I should.
Okay.
I was on mute until now,
No.
so Saiyami, go for it.
So I think, finding money as a fantasy is something which I probably have never had, because the fantasies I've probably had is, doing an Anurag Kashyap film, or, that has come true. So these are the fantasies an actor would probably have, or a fantasy where I'm a huge fan of Sachin Tendulkar, and ever since I was a kid, I used to fantasize saying one day I'll meet the man and, chat cricket with him. And that's come true as well. So I think I should start fantasizing a little more.
No, you fantasize
And
about
maybe
Roger
that
Federer also.
fantasizing, हाँ वो भी चल रहा है, वो हुआ नहीं अभी तक, करेंगे. But maybe I should fantasize about money and then go check my sink.
Roshan, for you?
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, for me,
Sure.
it's exactly. Sorry, guys.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Roshan is right now fantasizing about the sound to go off. Talk. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't know this was going to happen. No, I fantasized about being discovered. It's what Saiyami said basically. Even before I did my first film and all, when I just made this decision to make a career as an actor without knowing exactly how I'd go about it, and when the going got tough, I used to really think that one day some great filmmaker or like some really really great artist going to walk right into my life, give me that one opportunity which will make my life from then on. And yeah, that I fantasized about many times, and in many ways things like that have happened. I mean, Choke came to me when I wasn't even dreaming about working with him. I keep a list of people in my head, people that I want to work with, but I also have a very strict limit on my dreams. So I mostly kept people from in and around Malayalam industry. I was like, okay, let's not dream too big. This is it. So this is like that. I don't know. This is that bit in Friends where I can't tell AK that he was on my list, but he would have been. I just didn't think it would have happened. So yeah,
I think we can
moved
all
on
identify
was
with that. Yeah.
yeah. So some of those have happened. Some of those fantasies have come true.
No,
Yeah, I
finally,
used to
I have to
fantasize
ask
about
all of
releasing.
you. Yeah. About
Yeah.
releasing.
No, I used to fantasize about release for 7 years.
Finally, I have to ask each of you, is there a sense of anxiety? Is there a sense of, when we're talking, this is such a strange way to do an interview, right? I mean, is there an anxiety about when the world normalizes and when you'll go back to work? Anurag, this is also specifically for you. Do you wonder whether people's tastes will have changed, what they want from films will have changed, whether these stories that you're continuing to tell, that you're continuing to make, will sort of resonate and will be of interest? Is there an anxiety about just how viewing habits or viewing interests may change, given that we've gone through such an experience by when we come out of it at the other end? To all of you, I mean.
I think a lot of things will change. There's not anxiety. I literally want to just see how things change, because I know I can talk about personally what things are. I've suddenly started feeling that it's not so important to have such a large working space. People can actually work from home, and people don't need to necessarily come to office. They can still be there. It has changed that we don't really need so much in life. My monthly expenses have gone down so much that I realize I actually waste a lot of money on my shoes. So unnecessary buying of things, and there's so much has changed actually for me. And I know after this, I definitely am not the person who's going to figure out a way of shooting movies. I'm going to watch other people how they're shooting, because I don't know. I can't shoot films the way everybody's talking about, and with that kind of a distance. And I also don't want to put anybody at risk or in danger. So I'm going to wait to see how things kind of unfold and progress. I also, because don't believe a lot of things, the data that we read and the information that comes our way. I believe there's so much more happening out there that we don't know about. We are so logged in and so dependent on social media to find factual information about things. So I'm going to wait to see how things unfold. And yes, there is an anxiety in this. There is an anxiety of how am I going to deal with it, because my efficiency of work has gone down instead of going up. In this break, I should have been writing more, but I'm writing less, because writing suddenly seems like a job. You wake up to, and what do you have to do? Write. It's not exciting. It's not like about, okay, yeah, like, I have an idea, let me crack at it. I have an idea every day, and every day I'm like, oh God, so it's not that kind of a excitement. It seems like a job, like a chore that one has to do. So all those things are changing. There's a lot that's changing, and mental health is the most important thing that I've become aware of, because I struggle with it on a daily basis. I realize that I'm trying to spend less time on Twitter. I'm trying to spend much lesser time on and I'm being very grateful and thankful to people who have helped me, in the sense, suddenly you see, because when you are cooking every day and when you are cleaning up every day, which was the first month mostly, second month again I got tired. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So you really start appreciating a lot of people that you didn't. I would go talk to my watchman more when every time I go pick up a delivery. I've seen changes in me and being more sensitive to things that I was never sensitive to. I took it for granted. So anxiety, nahi hai, there's a lot of learning though.
Sure. Roshan,
If I
Saiyami?
could just add a little bit there, I with what AK was saying, I feel that we've kind of even Roshan said it earlier a few times, is we've started prioritizing what is really important to us. And like AK said, I feel that I'll talk as an actor here is, there are a lot of times that you're so busy doing nothing. You're so busy doing the social parties and so busy socializing and just being out there and not really doing anything productive. I feel time at home and in the lockdown, it slowed everything down so much, is that you've actually been able to look at everything very carefully and be very sensitive to certain things. like AK said, be sensitive towards people around you. You've realized how important house help is. You've started realizing small things. For me, what is happening with the migrants also, I have realized how blessed and privileged I am and what struggles people really go through. So I somewhere feel is, we've had a slowing down of time where you've realized a lot of things. And I think this phase, if and when, and hopefully soon when we come out of it, I feel as an actor, it's made me more sensitive and made me just more introspective, which I think will help in the future. So I guess I'm trying to count it as a blessing right now and make the most of it.
Roshan?
I guess for me, I realized quite early on in the lockdown that the more I think about how things are going to be at the other end of this, the more anxious I'm going to get, because everything is a possibility, and you're just going to get tired figuring out what's going to work and what's not. How is cinema going to change? How's theater going to be affected? So somewhere along the way, I realized that this amount of planning and just sketching everything out till the foreseeable future is not going to help. And you've just got to wait it out, get there, and figure it out one day at a time, which is also very apt for this conversation, because that was my biggest learning from Choked. I used to come in having planned everything till the end of the movie. And somewhere along the shoot of this film is when I realized that that's not what AK wants me to do. And I had a lot of fun just sort of letting things happen. So I'm not thinking about it anymore. I've gotten back in touch with a lot of the things that I used to enjoy doing and had stopped doing because I didn't have the time for it, which is no reason at all. And now there's suddenly a lot more time to do some of those things. And like Saiyami said, we are not the ones who have the worst deal in this lockdown. So not spending too much time getting anxious.
Well, stay healthy, stay safe, stay indoors, and all the best for the new film. It drops, of course, Choked drops on the 5th of June on Netflix. And all the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.